立法會主席。
The President of the Legislative Council. Members will please remain standing while the Chief Executive enters the chamber. The Chief Executive. Members, order please. The Chief Executive's question time. Members, if you continue to shout without warning, I'm going to send you out. The question time is conducted in a short question, short answer format. Members who wish to ask questions, please press the request to speak button. Each member called upon to ask a question will be given 3 minutes. The time for asking a question should not exceed 1.5 minutes so that the Chief Executive will have time to reply. Mr. Andrew Wen. Thank you, Mr. President, Chief Executive. Before the return of Hong Kong to China, the executive and the legislature, as a result of the level of rule of law, as well as the poor record of protection of human rights, as well as the very different judicial systems and legal systems between Hong Kong and the mainland, there was a decision against a long-term agreement in relation to surrender fugitives. The Chinese leaders also said that there should be a separation between the two systems. And therefore, with mutual agreement, it was said that we should keep the status quo. It's a deliberate act. That is, there shouldn't be a long-term agreement instead of a loophole, as you have said. Well, you witnessed the handover, so you should know it. The Bar Association yesterday issued a press release to denounce you. Now, it's not a loophole. The Taiwanese authority has said that they are not going to accept your fugitive offenders surrender arrangement. How come that for a year's time you don't take up the matter together with John Lee? In fact, you're trying to gain political capital by dwelling on the tragedy. Why are you trying to be a person that betray the Chinese like Wu Sanji? Why is it so? The CE. Recently, in the community, there has been a lot of discussion about our proposed amendment to the Fugitive Offenders Ordinance. Together with Mr. John Lee, the Secretary for Security, we have been most patient in giving an explanation. There are two purposes. First of all, to give us a legal basis so as to deal with the murder case in Taiwan involving a Hong Kong resident murdering another Hong Kong resident. Now, for this Hong Kong citizen who murdered another Hong Kong resident, he has returned to Hong Kong. We haven't got an arrangement to return fugitives to Taiwan. Despite the request from Taiwan to surrender the fugitive, we were not able to do anything. But it doesn't mean that we haven't done anything at all. In the past year, as a result of the hard work of various departments, including the Security Bureau as well as the Department of Justice, we try to find ways to handle the matter. We would like to find a way that will be in line with the requirements of our legal system. I think you can tell that the existing framework to deal with fugitive offenders, there is indeed a loophole. I'm going to talk about the loophole. Mr. Andrew Wen quoted what the Bar Association has said, saying that we have been misleading in some way. Loophole. In April 1997, we enacted the Fugitive Offenders Ordinance. There was a geographical restriction, but it isn't quite like what Mr. Andrew Wen has said. I don't think there was a record to the effect of what you have said in relation to our explanation about the bill. But in any event, in today's circumstances, there is indeed a loophole. What I mean is that there is a gap so that people may use a legitimate means to evade something. Say, for example, in the case of the surrender of fugitive offenders as a result of the geographical restriction, in some cases, it is impossible to surrender a fugitive offender. So by proposing the amendment, we would like to plug the loophole to fill the gap so that Hong Kong won't become a haven for fugitive offenders. Mr. Pierre Chen. Dr. Pierre Chen, well, we have an unusual outbreak of measles. As of today, yesterday, there were 40 cases, and we're having a secondary round of infection. It is highly infectious, and you can see that the virus has been imported into Hong Kong. In other words, we have seen a loophole. First of all, let me praise the Department of Health, the Center of Health Protection, as well as the hard work of Dr. Yuen Kwok-yung. We've seen that in many countries in the world, including European countries and Southeast Asian countries, there has been an outbreak of measles. We have got dozens of cases, but in those other places, we are talking about tens of thousands of cases. For Philippines, well, so far, there has been a report of 23,000 such cases with 300 deaths. We have got 200,000 Filipino maids in Hong Kong, and we have a lot of people traveling between Hong Kong and the Philippines. And then it is a matter of time that there is a mini outbreak at the airport. Are we going to follow the example of other countries, Singapore, Canada, UK, and the US, so that people coming to settle in Hong Kong or to work in Hong Kong need to go through certain physical examination or make a declaration? That is whether they have a record of highly infectious diseases like TB, so as to prevent an outcome in Hong Kong. If yes, why, and if not, why? The Chief Executive. Thank you, Mr. President. As Dr. Pierre Chen has said, in relation to the colleagues in the Department of Health as well as other related departments for their response to the outbreak of measles, and under the leadership of Professor Sophia Chen, they have been on the high alert and they have been adjusting their response. We are really grateful to Dr. Yuen Kwok-yung from Hong Kong U. Whenever we have a public health incident, he will come forward to help us, attending our meetings, give us advice, and he will also pay such visits, like in this case to the airport. I think, to me, currently we're able to control the situation. But then in Hong Kong, we are a transportation hub. We have got many people coming in and out, and there were over 74 million people going through the airport. It is not an easy matter. Dr. Pierre Chen, I think you also used the word loophole, a loophole in our immigration policy. Well, again, I don't think that it is indeed a loophole, but still, for what Dr. Pierre Chen has said, when we talk about importation of foreign labor, that is domestic helpers working in our households, as to whether more could have been done in relation to preventive work, indeed, this can be considered. I know that the Secretary for Labor and Welfare have already issued certain advisory information via the consulate staff so as to take preventive action in relation to helpers before their arrival in Hong Kong. Mr. Christopher Cheung, come Sunday, together with Macau representatives, you're going to visit Tokyo so as to promote the Greater Bay Area, as well as the governor in Guangdong. This is unprecedented for the three leaders to go together. This will attract worldwide attention. It shows exactly how we can make use of one country, two systems, so as to promote the opportunities under the Greater Bay Area concept. For the financial services industry, we are highly confident and we are highly supportive. But then there are also a number of issues to be dealt with. Within the Greater Bay Area, there are three currencies, three different legal systems, and three different customs regions, and three different regulatory regimes for financial services. Indeed, our sector is very concerned. So, CE, are you going to set up a steering committee within the Greater Bay Area so as to tackle the issues that we have highlighted? Say, for example, are you going to set up an innovative zone for financial services, making use of the regulatory model of Hong Kong? And then we'll have a RMB-based pool of capital. So, and then Hong Kong dollar Macau's dollar can also be freely circulated together with renminbi within the Greater Bay Area. The CE, thank you, Mr. Zhang, for your support to the Greater Bay Area concept. Now, for what you have suggested, as you have suggested, we are going out of the area to promote the concept. You talked about interconnection and integration of the financial services. We'll certainly consider your recommendations, but I can't be specific. For the Greater Bay Area promotion, we want to promote the flow of capital, people, funding, information, cargo, etc. Well, in fact, I just visited Songhua, and I think horses should also go between the two places so as to support the horse racing industry in Hong Kong. So the objective is clear. One country, two systems, three currencies, three custom regions. Still, we want to identify a way that we can take forward the idea of Greater Bay Area. Han Zheng, the Vice Premier, is the leader of a leading group. I'm also a member of that leading group concerning the GBA. You know that we are most pragmatic. Since August last year, there have been 2 meetings, and every time after the meeting, there was an announcement. On 1st of March last year, we talked about 8 facilitating measures, though we haven't covered the flow of capital, human flow of persons was covered. Mr. Gary Fan, please put away your placard. If the placard is small in size, I will allow it, but yours is particularly large and it is blocking my view, so please put it down. Dr. Fernando Zhang. Well, I've got this string with me. You have been a civil servant for 30 years. You must have used it many times. Now, for the workshop, for the brand producing this kind of tags, they are facing redevelopment. In other words, 200 plus members of this workshop would have to be relocated from To Kwa Wan to Tuen Mun. 55 of them are in the capacity as an employee. The 55 of them, as a result of the redevelopment of the workshop, now the place will be reprovisioned from To Kwa Wan to Tuen Mun. I'm afraid many of them can no longer continue with their job, and they're losing the status as an employee. Other than producing this sort of tax, they also have a sewing department. They also produce cotton boxes. So I'm afraid they will be forced to undergo a transformation or even being phased out. CE, do you have any sense of sympathy or empathy? Now, for those who are impaired physically, like those who are blind, who are ex-mental patients, for you to make them to travel such a long way to Tuen Mun to work, I think it is tantamount to forcing them to quit. So for this redevelopment proposal, are you helping them or are you denying them of their basic entitlement to dignity? So what do you want to achieve? The CE. Well, in relation to the service unit mentioned by Fernando Zhang, when I was the Director of Social Welfare, I visited the workshop. Now, for the employment of people in need, including the people with disabilities, I'm concerned. It is difficult to rely on the ordinary setups to help them to integrate with the society. We do want them to be self-reliant. Now, a month ago, we took the initiative to ask the Secretary for Labour and Welfare to deal with it properly. As of today, I may not be able to give you an overall reply, but I can assure you that I have taken a personal interest in this matter. But I do hope that you will remember that in some cases of redevelopment, we may have to relocate, reprovision a facility. But with mutual understanding and mutual discussion, we hope that eventually we can get a solution that is satisfactory to all parties. Like in the case of Shine in Kwun Tong, I think it is now a satisfactory ending because they have to be reprovisioned temporarily. But when they come back, they will be having a much better facility. So we'll certainly be helping with the employment opportunities of the blind.
Dr. Chang Lai-wan, I'm afraid your time is up. You can continue to pursue at another forum. Please be seated, Dr. Zhang. Dr. Chang Lai-wan. Regarding the caring and sharing scheme, distributing $4,000 to members of the public, there are a lot of views from the public. They have already submitted the application forms, but have yet to receive any acknowledgement. They were told by some staff that within 2 weeks after they received applications, a lot of acknowledgement would be issued. So they don't know whether the forms are lost, and they don't know when they can receive the money. Some members of the public called the hotline. Either they could not get through, or there was no one to answer the call. The deadline for submission of form is the 30th of April. Members of the public are worried that their forms have not been received by the office. And will you extend the deadline so that people can resubmit their forms? CE. Dr. Zhang mentioned the caring and sharing scheme announced in the 2018 budget. It is now being implemented. Relatively speaking, it seems it's taken quite a while. But I believe over 2 million forms have been received because of the large volume of applications, and to ensure that we comply with the basic principles in the use of public money, there is a lot of clerical and also verification work. I understand that the office responsible for the scheme is not really accustomed to the work, and it's difficult to employ extra staff because it is a caring and sharing scheme. We will not be too strict about the submission deadline. I hope members of the public will not lose the opportunity. I will ask the FS leading departments to study the case. If they, for whatever reasons, the people who have failed to submit the application forms, will consider that. Dr. Zhang, how about extending the deadline for submission of forms just in case people have already submitted forms, they have not received any acknowledgement letters, and if the forms are indeed not received by the departments, how will you deal with these cases? As I said, allow us some time. But the spirit of sharing and caring, we will not want less people to come forward to apply so we can spend less. No, the spirit is to ensure that $4,000 will be handed to eligible members of the public. Dr. Zhang, how about extending the deadline and allowing forms to be resubmitted? Mr. Chan Kim-po, I live in the Southern District, and also the chairman of an owners and corporation of major residential development. Many members have said that the South Island Line West proposed in RDS 2014 have yet to be discussed, and because the MTRCL has been too busy dealing with the Sha Tin Central Line, and there is no proposal yet. Now, the 5th phase of Cyberport has been announced, and Wharf First Day is due for redevelopment, so traffic is bound to be busier. So the MTR project should start in time to cope with the demand. So I'd like to ask whether the administration will invite MTRCL to submit a proposal on the SIL West line, because procedural speaking, if the government doesn't invite MTRCL to submit a proposal, nothing will happen. So step one is for the government to invite MTRCL to submit the proposals. My question is whether the request for the invitation for a proposal will be done within the year. CE. I believe the question by Mr. Chan Kim-po is close to the hearts of many members from the geographical constituencies in particular, because the railway is our backbone of public transport, and many people are concerned as to when the project will start. SIL West was among the 7 projects announced in RDS 2014. In fact, none of the 7 projects are now finalized or being designed in details. As Mr. Chen said, since the start of this term of government, issues associated with the railways have bothered myself and also the STH as well as the MTRCL. Well, manpower and resources are limited. The last batch of railway development projects are bound to end as we finish Shatin Central Link. We have to complete it before we start consideration of new projects. So I'm afraid I cannot give you a very definite answer because for the Northern Loop involving the northern part of NT and also the Southern Loop for Tuen Mun and also extension of the Tung Chung line, well, they are the concern of residents of Tung Chung as well. So allow us to consolidate all these before we give an account to the public. Mr. Eddie Ju, thank you. See, according to the latest statement by the Bar Association, the amendment to the Fugitive Offenders Ordinance have not given the court the power to ensure that the judicial system of the requesting party is in compliance with our human rights requirements, and you will be the most important gatekeeper in the new system. How you assess the judiciary system of the mainland is critical. Just a few days ago, the Vice Director of the Basic Law Committee, Ms. Maria Tam, said that in the mainland they have this sunshine policy for the judiciary. Like human pro-rights lawyer, Mr. Wang Quanzhang, was detained for 3 years, and even now he has been sentenced. His relatives cannot visit him. And then there was this 4 defendants under the June 4th, 1989 incident involving some wine. They have been detained for a long time, but yet to be properly tried. So do you think that this kind of sunshine practice in the judiciary of the mainland is okay? And are you assured that we can return fugitives to the mainland? CE, well, all judiciary system has its unique systems and arrangement. Is inappropriate for government officials here to rate the judiciary of another jurisdiction. Well, as the mainland should not meddle into our affairs, the other direction is also true. Now, Mr. Johnny's S4S is going to give the Fugitive Offenders Bill its first reading, and then it will be put to the House Committee for consideration. I think the spirit and principles of the bill will be deliberated in details in this council. Mr. Eddie Ju. Now, I don't really want to meddle into the system of the mainland, but because this bill is going to break the firewall between the mainland and Hong Kong, so you cannot continue to evade this question. Do you accept the so-called sunshine practice of the judiciary system in the mainland, that people can be detained for a few years before a trial? As I said, myself and my colleagues will work according to laws passed and considered by this council. But for each case, it will be for you to judge. And your view is very important. How can you evade this question? Hong Kong takes pride in our independent judiciary and our independent courts. Ms. Claudia Mo, my last warning to you. If you yell once again in your seat, I will order you out of the chamber. CE, allow me one more sentence. Any council member here that defame our judiciary system in Hong Kong. If you of the view that there is no judicial independence in Hong Kong, or it is nonsense to say that we have an independent judiciary, you are insulting ourselves, because we have set up a very independent judiciary in Hong Kong since our handover. When Dr. Jeffrey Ma, our Chief Justice, received his honorary doctorate degree, he said that he asked whether it is. Members, quiet please. This is not a debate. Members, please, order and silence. Mr. James To, please sit down. If any member yells again or speaks in his seat without my permission, I will regard it as grossly disorderly conduct. Dr. Joseph Lee, yesterday or last night I had a dinner gathering with some businessmen who have businesses in the mainland, and they knew that there is a Q&A session today, and they had questions for you. They want to thank you and praise you because you have removed 9 offenses related to 9 commercial offenses, and they feel safe. Unfortunately, there are voices that the bill is wrong and there are loopholes that you claim to plug. And then some say that how come as you want to plug the loopholes, why have you taken out 9 offenses, commercial offenses from the bill? So CE, will you give an undertaking here? You said that there are loopholes in the bill and you have to listen to concerns involving principals. Their concern is that with the removal of the 9 commercial offenses, they feel safe. So CE, can you promise that these 9 commercial offenses will continue to be removed, and can you even expand the scope so that it can even be safer? And then can you promise that people with business and commercial background in the mainland, you will not have them sent to the mainland so that they can even be more assured? CE, I think Dr. Joseph Lee is very skillful in asking his questions using another scenario. And then, as I said, very soon Mr. Johnny is going to give this bill its first reading in this council, and it is this council's duty to consider bills. So for Mr. Joseph Lee's question, I think you can put them to the Bills Committee set up to study the bill. And as always, Mr. Johnny is going to listen to your views in a very humble and frank honor. For the third question, I think you have oversimplified the question. If you think that I can just have all the say as to whether the mechanism should be activated, this is oversimplification. Even though with the FOO, when there is a case, the file is that thick, there will be lots of studies and recommendations by many people, including from our investigation staff and also staff in the DOJ. There are various divisions responsible for civil, criminal, and international laws. So it is not an arbitrary decision by myself for the mechanism to be activated. Mr. Ma Fung Kwok. See, on the 26th of March, you held a press briefing, and in one go, you reported on the report by the Commission of Inquiry on the Central Sha Tin Link, and also amendments to the FOO, and also the 3 tunnels package. And then members of the press felt that they were caught by surprise because 3 issues were involved, and you said that you went there personally to give a clear account to the community. But the media is saying that with 3 issues in one press conference, the whole press conference would lose focus and it would be difficult for the public to grasp the main themes. And because these are hot topics. Although the press briefing was a bit extended, many journalists did not have time to ask questions. So will you promise that in future you would have individual press conferences for different issues so that the press can ask focused questions and there will be sufficient time for an opportunity for public to understand these issues?
Chief Executive, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ma, for your question. The media monitors the work of the government. Well, for us to send information to the people, the media play a very important role. As I have said at the outset of the press briefing, yes, for this arrangement, very well, it might be unprecedented. But again, it is quite rare for this to happen. Well, for the CE in Council, in the morning of the same day, we endorsed 3 items of close to the hearts of the people. Well, as you know, I had to go on an overseas visit the following day. So I considered the matter and I decided to host the press conference. And I've invited the relevant directors of Bureau and their colleagues to take questions from us. To ask us questions. It was a very long press conference, 2 hours and 50 minutes, even longer than my press conference on the policy address. As you know, that the policy address covers many more than 3 items like the other day. I don't think the media are caught surprised. Usually we give an hour's notice to the press, and sometimes we don't even disclose the topic. We simply say that please assemble at a particular spot in the government office, central government office, and we are going to hold a press conference. The media are very professional. I don't think they cannot cope with it. But then if you have comments on this, I will be responsive and I will avoid having this again in the future. The Chief Executive's replies to members' questions come to an end. The Chief Executive now leaves the chamber. Members will please stand up. Members, order, please. The Chief Executive's question time ends now.
范國委員，請你將你嘅展示牌放低，或者
Mr. Gary Fan, please put away your placard or replace it with a smaller one so as not to block my view. Thank you.
現在舉行。
The regular council meeting now commences. Question 1, Dr. Honorable Elizabeth Quat. President, some disciplined service staff have indicated that they have all along been dedicated to their work, making Hong Kong one of the safest cities in the world.